So the Young Dolph trial happens today. Basically, the end of it. This is going to be the end because we can't do a seance and rise Jook up from the dead. But even if we could, he wouldn't have been charged. Bruh, the opening statement from the defense is more telling than the opening statement from the prosecution. Let's get on with the prosecution first, and then we'll spin it back for the defense.
Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about choices. You're going to hear a lot of evidence this week. You're going to hear a lot of names. But the name that I want you to remember is Hernandez Govan. November 17th, 2021. The victim, Adolph Thornton and his brother. They pull up to Makita's Cookie Shop on Airways Boulevard. They park the car, they get out, they talk to the cashier, and seconds later, a white Mercedes pulls up and Adolph Thornton is gunned down and killed.
Would you refer?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that you?
Yes, ma'am. That was me that ran up, shooting his ass though.
You'll hear from Dr. Juliet Scantleberry, the medical examiner in this case. She'll tell you that Thornton's body had around 20 gunshot entrance wounds to his neck, his chest, his arms, and a catastrophic injury to his face. But how did we get here? How do we start? Where will we begin? This trial will begin with Erica Thornton. She'll tell you that she is Mr. Thornton's sister. She'll tell you about the last time that she saw her brother alive. And she'll tell you when she heard that he was gone.
In other words, she's there to lay the emotional foundation of it all. Let's continue on.
And after Ms. Thornton testifies, you'll hear from Mr. Raul Hopkins. He'll tell you that he worked for security for Thornton for years.
Hold on. That same guard who couldn't tell you what CMG meant? What? Yeah. Let's continue on with this opening statement. And if I seem a little biased, let's just be fair, square, obvious, and honest. There's a reason why there were certain things held back that we were not told the truth of. And the reason why is because stories don't make sense.
That's his chain, PRE,
And what did PRE stand for?
Paper Route Entertainment.
I could have sworn it was Paper Route Empire, not Paper Route Entertainment. So that's not true. And once again, we're committed to the truth. So the state is still going to be able to cook today because there are some things that Cornbread said that, bruh, it looked like they got their man. But these individuals, this individual in particular, he don't know what he's talking about.
Did he have any issues with other labels?
Yes, ma'am.
What label was that?
CMG.
And what does CMG stand for?
I read.
But he's testifying like he's an expert. You don't know what PRE means and you don't know what CMG means, but you're an expert. Come on, y'all. This ain't justice for Dolph. They're messing the case up. This dude should not even be up here because he can't testify really to anything. You don't even know the freaking names.
Thornton made his own way in the music industry. And he created a label called PRE, Paper Route Empire. Hopkins will tell us about it. He'll tell us that Adolph Thornton made his way in the music industry and created opportunities for other artists. So Hopkins will tell us about another label, CMG, also known as Cocaine Music Group. He'll tell us about the history and the tension between these two labels. He'll tell us that CMG wanted Thornton as their own, but when he decided to pave his own way, when he decided to be self-made, he became CMG's enemy. Hopkins is going to set the stage for how this story truly began. And after Hopkins, you'll hear from Cornelius Smith. And this is when it all will click. Smith is a co-defendant. He'll tell you that he met Govan in 2021. They met through Smith's friend, Bobby Carter. And Smith has a couple of nicknames for Govan. He calls him Big Bro or Quet. Govan started out by selling drugs to Smith, pills more specifically. But that's not the only thing that Govan did. Govan chose Smith. And Govan chose him to do a job. Govan also chose Justin Johnson, another co-defendant, to do that same job. A job that ended in the life and death of Adolph Thornton Jr. Smith needing money, needing to support his family. Justin Johnson, an aspiring and up-and-coming rap artist that wanted to be on CMG's label, the very label that Govan had access to and was affiliated with. Smith will also talk about a meeting at Govan's house. The people present at that meeting were Smith, Govan, Justin Johnson, and Anthony Mims, also known as Big Jook. Now, Jook is the number 2 person at the CMG label. Smith will tell you that Govan said that there was a bounty on Adolph Thornton's life. In fact, there were multiple bounties on PRE artists. Govan told Smith that there was a $100,000 bounty on Adolph Thornton's life, and that the money was good. The money was guaranteed if Smith and Johnson completed this job. So what did they do? What did the 2 desperate people do? They agreed. And Govan asked for a $10,000 cut from each of them. And one thing that is important to note is that Smith and Johnson didn't even really know each other, but they knew Govan. Govan was the link between them.
Ooh, she talks about how they ditched the car. She talks about how Dolph's brother shot both of them cats. Dolph's brother, I ain't gonna lie, cuz on Demon Time, I didn't even realize or even pay attention to the fact he let off with the handgun, got to the car, and pulled out the AR. Bruh, the whole captain out here. Salute to him, bruh. I ain't gonna lie. If something happened to me, I hope my brother spin it like that. He popped both of them cats. Both them buster ass niggas. But hey, let's continue on.
But where did they go? They go to ditch the car. They ditch the car, and we'll hear from Sergeant Dabney that the car was left at 1174 Bradley Street, which they later found out is directly across the street from the defendant's home. After they ditch the car, Cornelius Smith and Justin Johnson go to an apartment complex to change clothes and clean up their rooms. Cornelius notices something. He doesn't have his phone. He realizes that he left his phone in the white Mercedes, the murder car that they left across the street from the defendant's house. So what does he do? He uses Justin Johnson's phone to contact his own girlfriend, Angela Arnold, and he will also hear from her. You'll hear from Angela Arnold, and you'll hear from Cornelius Smith that she picked him up from that apartment complex. When she picked him up, he told her what happened. He told her that he was hurt, and he told her that he was missing his phone. So what did he do next? Smith contacted Govan from Angela Arnold's phone and asked to meet so he could get his phone back. Ladies and gentlemen, there are copious amounts of phone records, and Sergeant Browning will testify that these call detail records will support what Smith is saying. And if that's not enough, Angela Arnold will tell you that she and Smith met with Govan after the murder so that Smith could get his phone back. Smith will tell you that at that exchange, Govan gave him money to buy a car cover, to hide the white Mercedes, to hide the murder car that was parked directly across the street from his own home. The day before Cornelius Smith was arrested, he ran into Govan. Govan was concerned. Govan was worried that Cornelius Smith had not been paid. And so what did he tell Smith? He told Smith that he was going to go to Privé to make sure Smith got his money. Privé is a lounge and restaurant that's affiliated with CMG artists.
So there's something that is egregiously flawed in what she's saying. Did she land it? Yeah, absolutely. Hey, here's what happened, why they did it. But the mastermind part is kind of like, nah, it sounds like an accessory after the fact because of certain things that's about to happen way before. Now, I think if he gets found guilty of anything, it's going to be something that his lawyer absolutely blundered on because you had to be able to explain this part right here. But let's get on with Manny Arroyo and what he has to say.
The case is going to come down to the guy with the machine gun that shot off Adolph Thornton. The whole case is going to come down to him and then possibly his girlfriend backing up his story. Remember, Cornelius Smith has made at least 5 different statements to law enforcement over the course of a year where everything changes. He's then met with the prosecution at least 5 or 6 times to go over his testimony prior to testifying here. Does somebody have a reason to lie? Do they have an interest in the outcome? You are caught red-handed on video, and you're about to see it in a second, taking an AK-47 or lighting it up at a cookie store in broad daylight. He's facing a mandatory life sentence, as I want to question him about. And I ask each and every one of you, what would you do if you were facing a mandatory life sentence to get out of it? Why would you need to make so many different statements if you were telling the truth? The state chooses to cherry pick a little bit here and a little bit there from each of the statements. But let me play a 5-second clip about how all this supposedly happened. I'm not saying it happened. I'm not saying Govan was involved in one way, shape, or form. But if you want to believe Cornelius Smith, the AK-47 shooter, and God knows how many other shootings he's done, and he'll talk about it, I want you to listen to this.
It was one day me and Angela was out riding, and I wanted some X pills, so I went to the courthouse to get the X pills from him, and Jook was over there. And when I walked in, there was one quick told Jook, this little seat right here, and mine, Jook was like, he done out on. First, he said, take all the phones outside, you know. He ain't say my phone, he was saying quit phone. I passed my phone to make it feel comfortable. So, took the phones outside, and Jook was like, hit him out of here, get him, and he got us. And I can't recall like exactly when it was, but that's what he said.
Cornelius Smith, if you are to believe him, says in his statement, I just happened to be going by Quet's house, Govan's house, to buy some ecstasy pills with my girlfriend. Jook happened to be there. He doesn't say Quet said a word. Jook says there's a hit on everybody, and I got you, and Jook says, take the phones outside while I talk to you. Assuming you believe any of that's true. And the reason I ask you if you think any of that's true is the police never went to question Jook, a.k.a. Anthony Mims, or Yogati, or any of the people with CMG. Never once even tried to do an interview. So this is as plain as day. Jook said do it. Quet didn't say anything. Quet lives in the poorest part of Memphis in Orange Mound, sells a few ecstasy pills to make a living, and hustles with some sports gambling. He's a nobody, and that's why I asked you about the peers. He's a throwaway that they can blame. Why did they not talk to Jook or anybody else with CMG? Ever. Now, Jook ended up getting killed in 2024, 2.5 years after the fact. Never arrested, never talked to, never interviewed, never pursued, never surveilled, nothing.
I ain't gonna hold you, bruh. The lawyer is basically saying, bruh, y'all was told who was gonna pay money, who had bread out there, and y'all decided y'all wasn't even gonna pick him up. Jook got picked up by the feds for sure and questioned about this crap, but it ain't really go nowhere. So you have that, but bruh, the lawyer begins to paint a picture, and the overarching villain isn't Hernandez Govan, it's Big Jook. Check it out.
I also told you, when you assess credibility, you need to look at how well you remember this thing. Cornelius Smith cannot even tell you when he was propositioned to go kill somebody. The shooting happened in November 17, 2021, and the best the police can say is that this meeting, where it just randomly happened, as Cornelius himself has said, was sometime between August and September, 3 months prior to the shooting taking place. 3 months. He will tell you there's no plan. All he was told by Jook was there's a price on their heads. And that's kind of funny because when the cops, if they testify honestly, will tell you there have been multiple attempts on Mr. Dolph's life. Twice in Charlotte by other folks and once in Los Angeles. Everybody in Memphis knew there was a price on their head because there was a war between PRE and CMG. They were shooting each other. Yo Gotti's car was shot up here. The song 100 Shots came up after one of these things. There's a rivalry going on and people have been shooting. The police went through this. They know this. They also pulled YouTube videos where people are openly threatening to kill Dolph. It's in their slideshow. You know what they call their investigation? Operation Cookie Monster. That's how tasteful this whole thing has gotten with these folks. I'm sorry, my arms are shaking because I'm so furious that we're here as far as the trial goes. So the other thing the government hasn't told you when we talk about first impressions is, for weeks prior to the November 17, 2021 shooting, nobody called Govan, talked to him, did anything, be it Justin Johnson or Cornelius Smith. What Cornelius will tell you, which the government didn't tell you, is that morning, it was Cornelius' daughter's birthday, but he gets a call from Justin Johnson and says, I got a car, let's go do something. They get in the car and they start driving around just looking for somebody to kill. They just happened to see Young Dolph's car going by, and they open fire, and they kill him. And the interesting thing is, even though nobody communicated with Govan for weeks prior to this, they didn't talk to him that morning. He didn't help him get the car. He didn't help him escape. He didn't tell him what to do. He didn't tell him where to go. He didn't do anything. It was a spontaneous issue between two young men that morning. They shot him. And you know why there's no plan? Because they just start calling random people after the shooting. They don't call Govan. They have to go someplace to get bandaged up as far as that goes. The people that helped them, never been charged as accessories to anything. They left the car across the street from Govan's house on the middle of the street, in front of the street. So if there's some master plan, that may be one of the dumbest plans you could possibly have if you're going to kill the most important person, the most famous person in Memphis, as far as that goes. Again, there were no phone contacts for weeks prior to the shooting, especially in the morning. Govan wouldn't know that the Mercedes was used. The only way anybody finds out is social media blows up right away, and multiple people start calling Justin Johnson, including Govan, who knows him, because the word's out that Justin may have done this. Trayon Ingram is another word you'll hear. He actually carjacked the white Mercedes and then gave it to these gentlemen to use in the shooting. He's not charged in this case. He's not even charged with carjacking. But he happened to pick up another murder right after this happened, and so now he's in custody for the other murder that he committed. Perhaps when making first impressions, you would have wanted to know that. I thought about going over at least one of Cornelius' statements in his lives, but I think it's just a little too much. We would be here for about 2 hours going through everything that he said has been inconsistent, bald-faced lies. In fact, you know how somebody's lying? Because in his first interview, that lasted a little over an hour, 32 times he told the police, trust me, I promise, I swear to God, I wouldn't lie to you. 32 times he says that before answering one of his questions on one of his first interviews after he's caught. And after he's caught, his girlfriend gets questioned because they ran down the license plate numbers, all that stuff with the cars. She lies through her teeth on December 14th of 2021, says, I don't know nothing about nothing. Because Cornelius had talked to her and tried to make up a false alibi. See, where's the plan in all this? See, if I have a plan to go kill somebody, we have a place to go dig something far away. I have people that can cover for me as an alibi. I don't make random phone calls. And so Angela, who knew nothing about this, according to her, picks them up at the location where they're getting bandaged up for being shot, drives them around town, helps them out. Of course, she's not charged. She initially lies and denies everything. The police then come back and say, we're going to charge you if you don't tell us the truth. And so on the 17th of December, 3 days later, she comes back. But what the police don't know at that time is Mr. Cornelius Smith has called 4 of his family members to reach out to Angela to get the story straight. Because he keeps saying on the jail phone calls, find out what she said, find out what she said, find out what she said. And then on the 17th, it comes back, and they're talking to her. And she says, well, we went over to that house sometime in the past, just like we talked about. She doesn't know anybody. She said, I can't think of his name. And the interesting part is, the officers say, is it somebody named Q? And then she says, oh yeah, it's Quet. Remember the phrase Bobby Carter that they mentioned? Bobby Carter also lives on Bradley Avenue, and they're good friends with Cornelius Smith. They buy pills together and do ecstasy pills together. And the other thing Angela Smith says is, Govan brought us the phone after the fact. How is that part of any plan or anything else? They called and said, give me a phone. The interesting thing about that is if it's true and you believe her, there would be fingerprints on the car. The police fingerprinted it, DNA'd it, did everything. Cornelius' fingerprints are there. Trayon Ingram's fingerprints are there. Kirsten Garner, the other guy that worked with Trayon to steal the car, his fingerprints are there. There's DNA in there. There's blood in there. But nothing with regards to Govan. They found the car 3 days after the shooting took place across the street from Mr. Govan's house. Has nothing to do with him, didn't touch it. So if he didn't do that, how does he open the door? And frankly, how do you get the keys to open the door? See, Cornelius doesn't give you the details. Did they lock the car after he left? Where were the keys? He doesn't know about any of that stuff. So tell me how Mr. Govan got into the car and how he did it so beautifully, being dumb enough to take the murder car to one of the most famous people and say, let's just park it across the street, and then somehow magically wiped his friend's DNA, hair, anything out of that car while he's looking for the phone. You know why that is? Because he didn't do it. What you're going to hear from Treon Ingram is Treon Ingram, when he stole the car, left his backpack, his wallet, and some other things in the car, and he had Justin Johnson go get them. You will hear that from Treon Ingram's own statement with regards to that car. This is why I talk about first impressions, because they always could be misleading, and in this case, patently false. When you cherry pick the evidence that you want to tell you, and then have the cameras rolling on a high-profile case to pressure you to commit a verdict of guilty, is patently unfair. And just because he's a nobody and doesn't have money, like Gotti or Jook, his brother, who were never even questioned or charged, he's the fall guy in all this stuff. He didn't do anything. Even if you believe Cornelius, all he says is, I just happened to show up there, and he said, hey, this is little C. Jook took over and started doing all the talking. Do you think that man could pay somebody $100,000 and you'd say, yeah, he's good for it, I don't need any validation, he's good for it? And interestingly enough, Cornelius' story also changes along with Angela's, because initially, we were supposed to be paid $1.5 million. Then after another interview, it became $1 million. Then it became $500,000. Then it became $100,000. Then it became, we're going to split $100,000 between me and Justin Johnson. Then it became, somebody gave me $50,000 in a brown paper bag. Then it became, oh no, I'm wrong about that. It was after I was arrested. Somebody gave my lawyer $38,000 in a bag to represent me. That's how many times the story has shifted as far as that goes. But the one thing that he does say is, after I got the money from Mr. Jook's people, it was understood that he was on that team. Again, Jook never arrested, never talked to, even though he says that's where the money's coming from. That guy doesn't have $1 million or $100,000 or anything like that. I may walk around wearing fancy ties, but he's indigent. The judge has found that. I'm here to help him, because people that are labeled as nobodies, I will not tolerate it. He needs to be fought for. He is your peer. We need to do this, right? Mr. Govan, stand up. Hold your head up high. Mr. Govan matters. You can't do this to people just for political gain, because you got to solve a crime because somebody famous died. It's just wrong. But you can sit down. We can't have a society like this where you base convictions on assault rifle people opening up fire on somebody. And you remember when I told you he couldn't even remember when that meeting was, that random meeting? The best thing you could do is remember that the meeting was sometime between when you tried to shoot Wu or somebody else. That's the best he could do as far as that goes. And so you have to believe, if this meeting happened, for 3 months nothing goes on, and then one day it just happens. Remember I asked you about pork chops and chicken and all that kind of stuff, if you're going to do something, even if you have a plan and it changes? If you believe any of that, he didn't have any plan. If you have a plan, you have a place to go. You have a place to hide out. You have an alibi built in. None of that happens. None of that happens. And Mr. Cornelius Smith is going to get up here and tell you, I want to bare my soul, I want to come clean, I want to do all this other stuff. You know I call BS on that hard, because when he tells you that, he will. Because he's testified to it before, that he wants to bare his soul. He wants to make amends. Then ask yourself, why for 4 years didn't he just take a guilty plea and take his life sentence and start making amends? He still hasn't played anything. His lawyers in negotiations with the government. There's, quote, no deal, but we do good things out of our heart when we're caught dead, red-handed, murdering somebody.
Now, I ain't gonna hold you. This video would be probably about an hour long. So we'll find out tomorrow if y'all really want that. But today, we just gonna give you this little 30-minute one, because I'm gonna sum up what happened today real quick. And then if y'all want the longer video, we'll put it on the Reloaded channel and we'll see exactly. But I'll go by the comments and what y'all dictate, because a lot of times y'all don't like these 50-minute, 40-minute videos. So let's get to it. What ends up happening is the sister comes through and she talks, and what she talks about essentially is the emotional connection, so that the jury feels drawn in. It's a great strategy from the prosecution, so you get an A in that. You do. Because the jury has to care about the individual. If it just seems like, hey, this is Young Dolph, he's a rapper, blah, 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 and all this other stuff, then cool. But then when a security guard gets on, like I showed you on the previous slides, he don't make any damn sense. He did not deliver for the state. The state essentially said, oh, he's warring with CMG. CMG this, CMG that. The state gets a D in that. The reason they get a D in that is because they don't realize, bruh, the lawyer previously said, this ain't got nothing to do with Hernandez Govan. This got everything to do with Jook, which is overarching for CMG. They don't decipher that. They don't knock it down. They don't do anything. The freaking, the bodyguard basically says, oh yeah, they shot up the car after Young Dolph left. So technically Young Dolph didn't get shot at in 100 shots when he made the song. But shoot, I mean, he kind of was right. Y'all missed a whole 100 shots because I wasn't even in there. So you have that. Then there was something else that happened in Charlotte. Then they talk about the California stuff, which he wasn't even there. So how could he say specifically what and what? That's when you call in those police officers. You don't call in the security guard who wasn't there. I wish the lawyer would have pressed him on that, and he didn't. He just didn't. The defense attorney, he did not. So I ain't gonna hold you. All in all, today, Manny Aurora's gonna mess around and get a D plus, C minus at maximum, because what he did for Cornelius today really wasn't nothing. Now, it could turn into an A because of how he was setting it up. He was setting it up to basically say, Cornelius, you're contradicting yourself. You're lying, you're lying, you're lying, you're lying, you're lying. But Cornelius, as a witness for the state, gets a B plus. Now, I know y'all think that I'm bought off by CMG and all this crap and everything like that. That's cool. Those who do. Anybody else who knows that we are unbiased. So the reason why he gets a B plus, because he didn't come off that flustered. And he came off, dare I say, he came off believable about his lies previously. Like, nah, I would just say 1 million because, we running game. When you running game on the females, then shoot, you gonna tell them anything. I ain't gonna hold you. Every man in here then definitely lied. I ain't gonna lie too. Might have lied about, my caprice, and would have said, them was 15s in the back, knowing good and damn well I had 110. You know what I'm saying? I'll be there in 15 minutes, knowing good and damn well I'm only 5 minutes around the corner, telling the girl, hey, this is my first time doing this, knowing good and damn well that's what I'm known for. But either way that goes, he actually did well for the state. The state on Cornelius' part, they gotta get an A. They have to. Why? Because they were able to still share the story with semblance of what happened prior. Now, I wish the prosecuting attorney would have showed a little more emotion, would have got a little bit louder to draw home the points that she tried to make, but she did not. And her tonality was trash. Her speed was slower than molasses. She was running at snail speed, and people can say whatever they want about southern states and stuff, but that right there, massively unnecessary. She was going so slow, and I'm like, darling, if you speed it up and hit your points, boom, 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 boom. That's what they like. Hernandez Govan's lawyer essentially is setting it all up. Now, once again, it can be switched to an A if he executes everything. All he has to do is say, Cornelius said this lie, this lie, this lie, this lie. We were basically able to get rid of all of these stories that he said, because at the end of the day, Cornelius Smith is lying. I don't think anybody watching that trial from the previous time to this time believes that that man is telling the truth. So if I'm looking at this stuff, bro, I'm looking like, damn, bro, this ain't good. I thought the lawyer was cooking at first, because he was setting Cornelius Smith up, but Cornelius never came off flustered, never seemed pissed off, seemed to be, dare I say, telling the truth. When he said, yeah, I came there for some pills and all this stuff and everything, he bared his vice. But one thing that Cornelius Smith better be careful with is this, bruh. If that lawyer catch your girl lying, catches up with all of this stuff, as far as where you say you were at and did they find these videos and everything, if none of that stuff pops up and he's able to continuously knock out all those points, it's going to look like Hernandez Govan is going to walk because you're talking about unreliable testimony. And if those cops come in there and pull off what the hell happened with Young Thug and Brian Steele in the McDonald's video, that video security tape, that meeting that was supposed to happen that never happened, if that happens and he keeps piling that on and he basically gets the girlfriend and get her to lying, then there we go. And remember, he kept on talking about payments that he was supposed to receive that he didn't receive. The biggest W, and that's why I can't give him an F, was him basically, meaning Hernandez Govan's lawyer, basically saying, hey, who'd you get paid by? Oh, now you don't know. Now you don't know. If you met up with Hernandez Govan, you were supposed to get money. You never got that. Then you had a homeboy that stayed on that exact same street that you used to kick it with. Hernandez Govan, you said never came out. Your homeboy, what about them? I told y'all, hey, bro, the cousin was with him and all this stuff and everything. Somebody made a video on me and started basically making up their conspiracies. Turns out all that stuff happened. I told y'all that Yo Gotti got his car shot up in Memphis before that crap happened. That came out today. Damn, it looked like Seti Nashby telling the truth. I read the affidavit, all 200 pages. Can't nobody pay me. If anybody could, trust me, I would spin a whole entire different story. But we do have to be leery of the state, because one thing is for certain, two things is for sure. Big Jook ass should have been arrested right along with Cornbread and right along with Straight Drop. There ain't no two ands and two buts about it. The fact that Big Jook was not arrested says a lot more about the state and is basically looking like exactly what he said. Hernandez Govan is the fall guy, because all of this crap that's going on, that's not a mastermind, that's a middleman. Now, if y'all want to say accessories and all this stuff and everything like that, then you got me. But labeling him as the mastermind, that's not how that looks, because what they said, like I said before, bruh, that meeting did not take place a couple of days before Young Dolph was killed. No, it happened months before. And obviously I couldn't put the paper route woo stuff on there because y'all would have been like, oh no, none of that crap even came out, bruh. You the police. Nah. When it ain't out, it ain't out. The bounty stuff, that crap been out. Dolph knew he had a bounty on his head. I just went ahead and read it and put it out there for all of y'all. Now, here's the biggest question. How well did the state prepare his girlfriend? Because at the end of the day, if she fails tomorrow, it's going to look bad for the state. The officers, they had to basically show that there was a damn videotape and show that, because if they don't, it's bad. And since we ain't seen it today, it doesn't exist. But here's the even bigger part. Remember the old lady that was supposed to, that supposedly Cornbread had got $800 from? Where the hell is she at? Because that's where the payment came from ultimately. Remember, the biggest thing about Cornelius's testimony was that I got paid $800 to murder Young Dolph. The old lady that I knew, she had the money for me. I went and I got it. Well, if she pops up in this trial and she basically say, no, that didn't happen, that's going to turn the whole entire stuff on their heads. Then the question remains. Y'all did a terrible job of prosecuting Jook. Y'all did a terrible job at basically getting this man to admit everything the first go around. And y'all did a terrible job at this all in all. Because what we know is Young Dolph is dead. Jook is dead. If that's supposed to be street justice, cool. Now the two shooters are in jail for the rest of their life. I'm going to be honest. I think Cornbread going to mess around and get himself 50 or 40 years and bank on him coming out at like 40 at like 70 years old and all this stuff. But as far as Hernandez Govan goes, if they spin it the way they're supposed to tomorrow, man, he might walk. I know. But if it keeps going like this, his ass gonna get life. And next thing you know, it's gonna be 4 lives traded for 1. Everybody loses. Subscribe, turn on bell, stay notified, share to keep your people awake. Right here, we're giving this away. I seen some people say you didn't give away the first PS5. Listen, if you're one of those people that's saying that, please type that in the comments so I can go ahead and block you. We didn't give away thousands of dollars. We didn't give away so much stuff. I'm not one of those channels that'll hold a raffle, scam y'all and say I'm gonna give y'all stuff and I don't give it. That's not how we operate over here. We actually do what we say. But if you're one of those doubters, man, please get the F away from here. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Like I said, deeper dive video gonna drop tonight over there on the Reloaded channel. I think that deserves its own thing within itself because I could be here all damn day. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Click right here to see how Young Thugger basically got the final laugh. He only has one more thing left with the state on something he has to fight, but it doesn't have to do with the state. It has to do with civil court. I'd share that with y'all sometime Sunday.